Hi, Taiwan. Thank you so much for having us today. The purpose of this interview today is to learn all about molecular hydrogen therapy. And I know you've become quite the expert in this field, so I was just hoping you could give us a brief introduction to what this therapy is.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me on and being able to answer any questions you may have around hydrogen therapy or molecular hydrogen therapy. And yeah, so a brief introduction, I would just say, as a simple definition, hydrogen therapy is utilizing molecular hydrogen to benefit the human body. And so there's been numerous studies that have been conducted so far showing that hydrogen gas, this is also molecular hydrogen is also referred to as hydrogen gas, um, offers therapeutic effects to the human body, whether that's antioxidant-like effects, anti-inflammatory effects, anti-allergic effects, and the list goes on, and benefiting more than 170 human disease models. So that basically is what hydrogen therapy is.
Okay. Now, what do you see this doing for people when they start to engage in this therapy and consume hydrogen, which water or inhalation?
Yeah, so I guess that's a good question. I guess I would start off saying too, since hydrogen therapy or molecular hydrogen therapy is based on hydrogen gas, it's a gas. So you have to figure out how we're going to administer that gas to get the benefits from it. And this is mostly done, the most two popular ways to administer molecular hydrogen would be hydrogen-rich water, which is dissolving hydrogen gas into water to a therapeutic concentration and then consuming that water, or breathing hydrogen gas. And you could do that through specialized devices like these systems I have behind me, and they'll produce hydrogen gas and then funnel it to a nasal cannula so that you can breathe it as you just breathe normal air. And those are the two most popular ways of administering hydrogen gas. And when you are engaging in hydrogen therapy, I'll go ahead and just give you a brief list. I'll go ahead and scroll down. I'll give you a brief list of some of the therapeutic benefits, the biotherapeutic effects of hydrogen and what they've seen so far. So I'm gonna roll through this pretty rapid fire, but here's just a couple of them. Selective antioxidant-like effects, anti-inflammatory effects, anti-allergic effects, anti-cellular death effects, anti-aging effects, supports the immune system, increases the metabolism and cellular metabolism, improves the body's antioxidants or the redox status of the cell, reduces muscle fatigue, has anti-diabetic effects, anti-cancer effects, improves cognitive function or beneficial effects for the brain, protects DNA and RNA, increases energy or ATP production, protects from radiation, protects the mitochondria, and increases mitochondrial biogenesis, means making more mitochondria. And this is just, like I said, I could keep going. This is a short list of some of the benefits, and typically what people, when they start to engage in hydrogen therapy, some of the things that they start to notice first, I would say, is increase energy. Some people notice just really improvements in their energy, better sleeping, mental clarity, these type of things. But with that being said, understanding the type of therapeutic agent molecular hydrogen is will help you have a better scope of when you should expect to see benefits. And so hydrogen is what you would call, in the scientific literature, the technical term is a gaseous signal modulator. So it's just a big fancy way of saying it regulates cellular systems and affects gene expression, alters gene expression. So these, because of that, that's a timely process. It goes in, regulates systems, and then it leaves. You'll breathe it back out. And so typically you'll see in the scientific literature that when these studies that they're conducting on hydrogen will be anywhere from like a month to like 4 weeks to over a year. And understanding that helps you understanding that gives you a better grasp on when I should start to probably expect results. Similarly, like exercise. If you understand exercise, that a single bout of exercise, you shouldn't expect a whole lot of results. Doesn't mean you don't have any beneficial effects that might be happening in your body with a single bout of exercise, but it's the repetitive, continual bouts of exercise, moderate exercise, that leads to this accumulative effect on the body that where your body starts to change. So, cellular adaptations and things like that take place. This is similar to hydrogen therapy. And so I generally tell people when they start hydrogen that they should try it for 3 to 6 months and see if it works for them, because everyone's biology is slightly different. So some people notice immediate, like first day, bang. And some other people are like, I've tried it for 2 weeks, haven't noticed anything. And some of those people I've talked to. There was one lady in particular. She did it for like 2 weeks. She had mast cell activation syndrome. Did it for 2 weeks. Didn't really notice any significant improvements. But after 5 weeks, she just continued to do it. She was doing hydrogen inhalation, by the way. After 5 weeks, she called me and she was railing about the effects. She said, I feel like my disease status is like decreased by like 75%. This is amazing. And so she didn't really start noticing significant effects from hydrogen therapy, until like said 4 to 6 weeks in. And that makes really a lot of logical sense when you look at this, but when you look at the scientific literature and when you're dealing with that type of disorder, it's an autoimmune disorder. Hydrogen has to regulate the immune system, which is pretty complex.
Definitely. It reminds me a lot of HBOT. So that's the main therapy I'm currently using, which more recently we're seeing them combine. So almost everyone who's using HBOT at a clinic or at home is being recommended to use hydrogen-rich water to combat some of the side effects, where sometimes when you start oxygen therapy, you can get a little tired, you can see herxing. HBOT is also a therapy that you have to do consistently. Over time, it produces more results. So they definitely are a lot alike in that sense. What is the main difference between when you start to drink the water versus inhalation? Is there a big difference between the two?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and try to answer this in like two parts. I'll define what they are, and then I will talk about basically their differences and what makes them, why they probably have different therapeutic effects. So first of all, hydrogen-rich water or hydrogen water, as I said earlier, is just ordinary water or your preferred drinking water with hydrogen gas dissolved into it and up to therapeutic concentrations. Now, I think this should be noted because there's a really big misconception because we have a limited understanding of hydrogen. I mean, most of us learn about hydrogen in high school, and then after that, we kind of move on. And so, and even in that respect, there's like a limited understanding. So one of the big misconceptions is, hydrogen is already in water. So we are aware of hydrogen in the places that it is, and typically that's where one of it is. It's in water. It makes up the water molecule. So what's this whole deal about hydrogen water? That sounds like a scam, and really that just means that that person that you're talking to, if you were to have this conversation, if I were to have this conversation with someone, I would say, no, it's not a scam. I think we ask a few more questions and probe a little deeper, we can actually figure out maybe what hydrogen water is. And so when we think of ordinary water, H2O, the hydrogen that constitutes water molecules are hydrogen atoms. Well, there's actually 4 different species of hydrogen, not even including its isotopes. So we can go through them really quickly. Hydrogen cation, or just a hydrogen ion, another popular name for it is a proton. This is a single proton. We learned about this in high school. Protons, electrons, neutrons, right? The things that make up atoms, right? A hydrogen proton or hydrogen ion is the first form of hydrogen. And then you have the second form of hydrogen, which is a hydrogen atom, which is 1 proton and 1 electron. This constitutes the water molecule. So this is one we're thinking of a lot of times when we're thinking of water. And then you have molecular hydrogen, hydrogen gas, and it's 2 protons, 2 electrons. So basically, covalently bond together is the gas form of hydrogen. And then you have hydride, which is basically 1 proton and 2 electrons. It's only really found in like complex compounds and stuff like that. But anyway, we're talking about molecular hydrogen, hydrogen gas. And gases can be dissolved into water. And we know this because soda, right? Like pop, carbonated beverages, we actually are very, very aware of this concept that you can dissolve a gas into water. And so soda is just carbon dioxide dissolved into the water. And we drink it. Gives it its physical characteristics. Well, hydrogen water is just ordinary water with hydrogen gas dissolved into it up to a therapeutic concentration. And I want to make sure I mention that because just because it has hydrogen in it doesn't mean that it's going to be therapeutic for you. Just because it has hydrogen gas in it, it needs to be at a certain concentration to be therapeutic for you. I mean, even our ordinary tap water has hydrogen gas dissolved into it. It's just so low. It's like 0.8 parts per trillion. It's so low that it's not therapeutic. But if you can increase it, which hydrogen water is about 1,000,000 times more hydrogen dissolved into the water than our ordinary tap water, then if you can increase to therapeutic concentration, then okay, now we can actually start to reap the benefits from hydrogen, the hydrogen that's dissolved into the water. So that's what hydrogen water is. Sometimes you can even get people that think because they're putting hydrogen peroxide in water, that is hydrogen water. And that's not hydrogen water. It's a misconception. We actually cover hydrogen water misconceptions in a video that we produced a few years ago called the top 5 misconceptions for hydrogen water. And we actually cover this one, hydrogen peroxide, because it's another popular, I would say, common understanding of hydrogen. You hear hydrogen peroxide, so you're like, oh, hydrogen. And so putting that in water, but they're totally 2 different chemical species. Hydrogen peroxide is an oxidant and can be pretty strong, free radical. And hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, is not a oxidant, or it's kind of classified as a reducing agent, more like an antioxidant. And so they're totally 2 separate ideas. And so that's another misconception. So that's what hydrogen water is. Now, hydrogen inhalation is by definition basically breathing a therapeutic concentration or therapeutic level of hydrogen via inhalation. And so it has various forms in the scientific literature, but by and large, what we know today is that if you're breathing anywhere between 1 to 4% hydrogen gas at resting breathing rates, your normal resting breathing rate, if you're breathing that, then you're going to receive the benefits of inhaling hydrogen gas. And so that's simply what hydrogen inhalation is inhaling a therapeutic level of hydrogen via breathing or inhalation. So that's what that is. But like I said, we can go in more depth about that and what that looks like. But the differences between the 2 primarily come from how you are administering it. So one's going through the gastrointestinal tract, so you're drinking it. And so hydrogen has time to act on your stomach, regulate things in your stomach, in your intestines before it goes and then diffuses through your basically intestinal barrier into portal circulation. So basically into your circulation, which is called the venous system. So basically it goes and then it'll travel up and hit your liver before it goes to your lungs, then to be funneled through the arterial system around your whole body and gets all your muscle cells and everything else. And so because it takes that pathway, it's doing specifically different things, certain things it can do differently than hydrogen inhalation. Hydrogen inhalation is going to go through your lungs and then directly to your arterial system and then get funneled around your body. And so they're going to be hitting different systems and hitting them first. And because of that, there's going to be some differences between them. And when it comes to its advantages and disadvantages, some certain disease models that it might be better for than others, right? And that's just dealing with the characteristics of hydrogen water and hydrogen inhalation. So that's what I would say for those 2.
Okay. Now, if you were targeting more neurological healing of the brain, and I believe I learned from some of your videos that the inhalation at a therapeutic dose is more effective than the water.
Yes, I would say in the sense of saying based on hydrogen, the functional characteristics of hydrogen inhalation, you're going to be able to have hydrogen reach the brain and actually saturate the brain up to higher levels than you would with hydrogen water. And that does not mean hydrogen water can't benefit the brain, because we have studies that hydrogen water does benefit the brain. But hydrogen inhalation is just going to it's going to allow the gas to actually saturate the brain to a higher level. And you see very, very good effects. I mean, this is some of the things you've seen in studies with stroke models or cute things like that. But I would say if a person's dealing with neurological issues, my first thing I would say is you should probably do both hydrogen water and hydrogen inhalation. But if you had to pick one, I would say based on the current scientific literature, I would tell you to go with hydrogen inhalation.
Okay. Now I know I've been most of the information I have learned about this therapy I've learned from your YouTube channel. I started following that a few years ago. I just was looking for any information I could on the therapy. There's a lot of studies, but studies can be confusing to read. It's hard to break it down. I was also dealing just with a daughter with medical issues at the time, and sometimes you don't exactly just have the mind space or time to get into it in depth. So I was introduced to your YouTube channel and your Facebook page where you put out just, I don't know how many you have, but you have a huge resource of studies, videos covering every topic, condition, where you break it down to people.
Uh,
I also started following you guys because I noticed that you were giving people realistic information about how to purchase and how to use these devices, which was really hard at the time. Now, how did you get involved with this therapy?
yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit of my story, and I'll try to keep it brief. We've had a long journey to get to where we are today with helping people with hydrogen. But it all started off with me playing football. I played football for about 20 years of my life. I aspired to be an NFL, and I was on that journey when hydrogen invaded my story. And it did so beginning with alkaline ionized water, which is very popular. You know, alkaline water is a popular thing out there in the world. And I actually got introduced by my wife's cousin, and he told me about, you know, how this water's got all these wonderful benefits. It's going to do all these wonderful things for me. And I was studying, I studied corporate fitness in college, so I was a little aware of some biology and physiology, some of that stuff too. So anatomy, some of that stuff that you have to learn while you're going through college. Some of the stuff didn't add up, but I was like, I'm gonna try the water anyway. And I noticed some significant benefits with my training. And I mean, my recovery time and everything was totally up. I was recovering, you know, maybe 30-40% faster than I was before. So I was like, what is going on? And later on, I learned a little bit more about the placebo effect. I'm like, well, maybe I'm just, you know, maybe it's placebo or something, right? And but it caught my interest enough to want to figure it out. And I have a very inquisitive mind. I want to learn a lot. And when I typically learn, I want to dive to the depths of whatever I'm learning about. So it's just part of my personality. So I started to do that, and I couldn't crack the code. I couldn't figure it out online. So I ended up um, praying about it. You know, I'm a Christian, whatever. So I prayed to God about it, and then a couple weeks later, I got introduced to a gentleman online named Randy Sharp. Randy Sharp is the definition of his last name. He's a very sharp individual. You know, we used to work for IBM. He was an engineer, really smart guy. But I saw him online. He was teaching me about the science of alkaline ionized water. You know, I was like, okay. So I probed him a little bit, and he kind of set me on a pathway. Um, and he said basically that molecular hydrogen is the key. You know, he says basic high school chemistry that they're doing with this with these systems, uh, which is they're basically running the process of water electrolysis. And so basically in electrolysis, you have a cathode or negative side or negative terminal, and you have an anode or a positive side. And at the negative terminal or cathode, you're going to produce hydrogen gas. And at the anode, you're going to produce oxygen. And so they're just running this electrical current through water, and they're doing this. And so he put me on that pathway, and I started to look up molecular hydrogen. He told me basically look up molecular hydrogen and type in whatever disease model you want and start looking at medical studies. So I started doing that while I was playing football and trying to make it to the NFL. And I started reading hundreds of articles. I became captivated by this. And I was like, this is a diamond in the rough. No one knows, like no one's talking about this. Like, why is no one talking about this? Why have I not heard about this? Like it's this little gas is doing everything. And so I became so convinced or convicted by it. That started that. Like I bought my own alkaline ionized water machine, and I started helping people, started teaching people about it. And I started getting a little bit of notoriety for that. And started getting my name got out there a little bit. And I became actually devastated uh, later on, because what I ended up finding out was that the technology that I invested in, spent more than $5,000 on, wasn't that great at actually producing and dissolving molecular hydrogen. And so it actually spoke more to how amazing hydrogen is than actually the technology I was actually selling. Because although it made small amounts, hydrogen was still doing a significant amount in people's bodies. And so I was like, whoa, wait a minute here. Because basically Randy is the actual manufacturer or CEO of the company that produces H2 Blue drops. These drops you can measure hydrogen gas concentration within water. So you can actually verify your water has therapeutic levels of hydrogen gas in it. So I got drops from him, and my machine was making very low levels. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then there was another machine that we were actually helping people. We were just giving gallons of hydrogen water to, that I was like, let me test that machine. And it had undetectable levels. So that set me on a journey, not only to teach people, but actually direct people to products and things that, and verifying it. And that's just a piece of the story. I mean, there's so much of how we got to H2 Minutes and actually how we got to H2 Hub with help people with products. But that's like the start. And because of that, we've been on this journey now for nearly a decade. I've been helping people and educating people in those two areas with hydrogen education and helping people find the products that are actually going to provide therapeutic levels of hydrogen to your body.
Very nice. I've actually had a very similar experience with the therapy. My daughter had a traumatic brain injury about 6 years ago, and automatically they don't give you a lot of hope with brain healing. They kind of say what's done is done, and the main standard of care is to put you on medication, give you physical therapy, and you go home. So that put me in a whole new world of how important health was. I didn't grow up thinking health was that important. I never paid attention to it, but when my daughter was suffering from something that makes you disabled, takes your ability away to eat. And for me, the biggest part too is she just wasn't happy. It's really hard to watch. So I go online as much as I can. The people online healing are usually the ones with the best advice, not the doctors. That's another part I've learned. And HBOT was what first caught my eye, because HBOT had a lot of studies coming out saying that they could repair parts of the brain that have lost oxygen to a point where they could repair it. So kids with brain injuries were using HBOT, and they were starting to move more and talk more. We started that, and right away, all the professionals using HBOT said, well, you have to do molecular hydrogen with it. And I was in the same thing. I said, no one's using this. I've never heard of it. I don't know what it is. And I go online, and there's some popular pre-made waters, and I tried those. And I think I was actually watching your YouTube video where it occurred to me that there's a certain dose that you're supposed to be doing for brain healing. And I was like, wow, same thing. I've been giving my daughter this little bit, and she had instant results. She doesn't have instant results a lot, but this is something that gave her energy. And that's her biggest struggle, was stamina. She wants to walk, but as soon as she gets up, her body just kind of goes down. I started seeing her stand more. I started seeing her talk more. It was waking her up. So as a caregiver at the time, I said, okay, I'm going to try this. And it started giving me a lot more better thinking. It took away my brain fog. It gave me energy. I had chronic fatigue syndrome at the time. There was just a lot of stuff with long haul COVID going around. And I just seemed to really be having a lot of issues with inflammation. And this was something that I immediately was drawn to, because again, there's no side effects, and I just felt very good results from it. So I started going online a lot, and I just, everyone was like, hey, I heard this could help my kid. What should I get my kid? And I'm all about providing information online for people to heal themselves. I
Yeah.
document my daughter's healing journey to help other people. I think it's very useful to share that. And I just didn't know what to give people. And I think one of the great things about your company is you do actually third party test them and you give people
Yeah.
those kind of non-biased reports because you don't always know what you're getting. And a lot of people don't have the money or time to waste money on healing products at home. You just don't,
Right.
whether you're disabled or you're a caregiver. So that's what got me a little into it. And now it's being used in many clinics with HBOT as part of
Mm-hmm.
the healing. Now, is that a surprise to you that those two, oxygen and hydrogen, would be used together to produce such good results that people are seeing?
No, no, no. No, I think um, this is something that's kind of coined by Tyler LeBaron. He's the founder of Molecular Hydrogen Institute, but he talks about how, you have the oxidant, or the reducing agent, and you put them both together and you get the life-giving solvent water. So it's not surprising that oxygen and hydrogen could work synergistically to have a therapeutic effect. And in fact, there's several different studies that are online using hydrogen-rich saline with uh, hBOT and hyperbaric oxygen therapy, showing that they have a synergistic effect, whether it's reducing inflammation, reducing cellular death, and they're actually working together really well, producing a better effect together than if they were to administer them separately. And so it's not surprising to me. And I feel like if you're going to be engaging in, let's say, a oxidative therapy like hBOT, then I think you should be using something, I think, like hydrogen. And I don't think there's really many things that are out there like hydrogen because the cool part about hydrogen is that it's not like this ordinary antioxidant. Like we think of typical, like conventional antioxidant, maybe something like vitamin C or something that will go in and neutralize a free radical. It's kind of like 1-to-1 ratio or one of several things, right? Like it's going to neutralize several free radicals. It's going to donate us electrons, and then it's done. It became a pro-oxidant or something, right? And that's kind of what we think about when we think of antioxidants. But hydrogen is not an antioxidant like that. And this is why when I gave the list earlier, saying it's a selective antioxidant, something that they figured out in the literature is that hydrogen is only decreases the levels of cytotoxic free radicals. These free radicals that have no biological effect to help us. And then it lets the other free radicals actually have biological effects that actually are, actually going to mediate benefits to the cell. It doesn't reduce those. And so because of that, hydrogen, you can administer hydrogen with let's say hBOT, and it won't actually fight against hBOT and what it wants to do for benefiting the cell, right? Like if you were to take a really strong antioxidant along with this oxidative therapy, you can negate the benefits of the oxidative therapy. This is what they've seen kind of like with exercise. You can take a high dose of vitamin C while you're about to do a exercise bout, and you can negate the benefits of exercise because exercise is kind of this hormetic, process. Like you induce a mild stress, and you get this rebound effect, and and you get all these positive benefits to the body and cells. And same thing. It's very similar with mild hyperbaric oxygen therapy, right? This mild stress that give this rebound effect, and you got all these benefits by increasing oxygen throughout the body. And so hydrogen is, I would say, perfect for it because you can prime the body to receive this therapy without negating the benefits. So you can prime the body and basically the side effects you might receive from doing this oxidative therapy, it will mitigate those things or prevent those things while actually still maintaining the benefits of the therapy. It it truly is, I think, a perfect adjunctive therapy for hBOT. And so I think doing pre-treatment with hydrogen would be something I would highly recommend. for people to do, you know, if they're going to be doing this therapy.
Yeah, and I know we were talking a little bit before about you get into this and not a lot of people are talking about it or do it, but that's
Mhm.
not to say that there's no scientific evidence behind this.
Yeah, so that was a really good question. As far as the studies go, there's a lot of research that's happening around the world when it comes to molecular hydrogen therapy. We're actually upwards to more than 2,000 scientific publications worldwide, and showing hydrogen has therapeutic potential or benefits for more than 170 human disease models with no cell damaging effects. And on top of that, we have upwards of, you know, going, if I had a recent count, I believe we're upwards of 200, but I'll just say 150 right now. Preclinical and clinical human trials with hydrogen therapy. And those have been really positive, and it actually has a trajectory of just skyrocketing. Um, and so, with that being said, you know, we've learned a lot, but there's still so much for us to know. And so we need more research. For instance, like we don't know truly how hydrogen is mediating all these effects. I mean, like in the literature, it basically says it has a pleiotropic effect like this. It's able to regulate a lot of genes and mediate a ton of effects within the cell. But we don't necessarily know. They don't know the master regulators. They don't know the master regulators, the keys that hydrogen is turning on to mediate all these things. Now we do know some things. And so, for instance, like I was saying earlier about hydrogen's antioxidant effects. So we know one way that hydrogen can have an antioxidant-like effect is by regulating or activating the NRF2 pathway, which is kind of like the master regulator for our antioxidant cell defense system. And so this NRF2 ARE pathway, antioxidant response element pathway that hydrogen is turning on, it turns us on, but that just NRF2 pathway regulates and express more than 200 cytoprotective proteins within the cell. So hydrogen is turning these things on, and these things are such, you know, so for instance, this is one of the ways we know, you know, hydrogen is benefiting the cell is that it increases our endogenous antioxidants. So by turning on the NR2 pathway, it increases things like glutathione, superoxide dismutase, catalase, hemo-1 oxidase. There's a whole lot of different antioxidant or actual cell protective proteins that hydrogen is telling the cell to make more of. And so it's doing that in that particular area, but also it's anti-inflammatory effects. We don't know how it does all of it, but we know some things, right? And so one of the things is we've seen is that hydrogen can downregulate pro-inflammatory cytokines. These are these little proteins that are communication proteins that tell cells that let's go, kick up the inflammation. Hydrogen can, in a broad range of white blood cells, tell them to downregulate, stop making so much of these communication proteins, these pro-inflammatory cytokines. But it can also tell these cells to upregulate or make more of anti-inflammatory cytokines. And so some of these pro ones would be like NF-kappa B or tumor necrosis factor alpha. Like hydrogen tells these, it just drops these things. They go in, boom, 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 boom. And can drop them if there's an excessive amount of chronic inflammation going on. But it can also tell those cells to upregulate anti-inflammatory cytokines, such as interleukin 10 or interleukin 22. You can kick those up. Unless, this is the cool part about hydrogen, unless you already are in homeostasis. So if you're in homeostasis, it doesn't decrease inflammation. It'll actually leave it exactly where it is. So it has this ability to kind of differentiate between when a cell is in stress, when a cell is not in stress. And this is really important. But they don't necessarily, still like I said, we don't necessarily know how hydrogen is being able to do these things. But that's just a few things of what we know from the research and what we know about some of its mechanisms, its mechanism of action, like how it's able to induce its therapeutic effects.
Okay, so I guess that would explain why if I have brain fog or a headache, I can see such fast results, or my daughter who might have inflammation from therapy and she takes it and she gets a sudden kick of energy. It kind of adapts to the person. I really like this therapy too because it's one of those things where you're giving your body a tool to heal itself, and it can heal just a range of things. You can't go wrong with it, whether you're just doing it for general health or to help a certain health condition. I feel like
Hmm.
you're not wasting your money. And the other part I really like about this is something I used to take a lot of supplements. I used to be into just trying any way I can to heal myself. But this isn't synthetic. So you're
Hmm.
not ingesting a supplement that might have toxic oils in it or citric acid. It's like, as you stated, with oxygen, is something that's found in your body. You're just using it more. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
Now,
No, I mean, I would like to speak to that because that's like a really, really good point. And it's something that people are also unaware of, that their body naturally produces hydrogen gas via their gut flora. So our intestines produces hydrogen gas. When we eat non-digestible carbohydrates like fiber, this is one of the ways it's actually shown that these things are, when you eat your fruits and vegetables, one of the benefits you actually, the research is showing one of the benefits you actually are getting, why fruits and vegetables are good for you is not just um, the beneficial they can, like the beneficial molecules that they can contain, but also because you produce a lot of hydrogen. And that hydrogen actually can diffuse your intestinal wall, get into the circulation of your blood, and then do the same thing, mediate some of these effects that we're actually seeing within the scientific literature. So hydrogen is very natural as part of its safety profile. We actually have a video we created talking about the safety of hydrogen, because there's something else we can talk about is hydrogen being flammable. It's a flammable gas. Most people, many people understand it's flammable and dangerous. So they're like, why would I even want to do that? Because I'm not trying to hurt myself. But also, hydrogen is very natural to our bodies. And your body right now, everyone's body has a basal level. There's an actual base level of hydrogen that is in your blood right now, whether you like it or not, because your body's producing hydrogen gas. So, like I said, it's very natural. It's not some kind of synthetic thing that you're taking or anything like that. Um, but because of what it is and how it works, just like you mentioned a few minutes ago, you notice really quick effects. Well, one of the things too is that hydrogen is so small that it can get anywhere in your body. Um, there's no barriers that it can't get through. The blood-brain barrier, the placenta barrier, the testis barrier, the intestinal barrier, the air gap barrier in your lungs. There's no barrier because of hydrogen's neutral in its charge, and it's so small that it can diffuse all human barriers, to the point to where in scientific literature they basically say once you supply it, it has immediate diffusion. So it immediately diffuses into your cells and tissues and organs, and typically it travels through your blood, and then it diffuses into your organs. So I'm not surprised that you would notice really quick effects with hydrogen, um, because it can't get to certain places where other antioxidants and other beneficial molecules can't. Like getting past that blood-brain barrier can be pretty tricky. And hydrogen goes through it without no problem, and actually protects the blood-brain barrier. We have research that it actually helps it maintains the integrity of the blood-brain barrier.
okay. Now, I know some people start HBOT because maybe they don't have a good air quality in their house. And we talk a lot about with diet too, how we're losing nutrients. One of my thoughts on what you just touched was, are there certain conditions or health conditions someone might be having, or toxic overload even, where maybe you're lacking hydrogen where you might be needed? Like, do certain factors take it away from your body, or is it just something that we don't get a therapeutic level of?
Well, yeah. I would say that diet has a big role to play. That you can alter your gut flora, and shift that, and so you don't have as much anaerobic bacteria to produce hydrogen gas within your gut. And because of that, there might be oxidative stress that can take place, or actual different diseases that maybe can arise because of that. So, for instance, there's a study that has gone through and looked at. I might actually have two of these in my database, where they're believing that one of the causal factors of Parkinson's disease is low H2 levels. It's based on the gut. the gut composition of the person is compromised, and they cease to produce hydrogen gas, and therefore, um, the substantia nigra within the brain and the dopaminergic neurons and all that stuff that takes place with producing Parkinson's disease, they're actually seeing that hydrogen could be probably, there could be a relationship here between hydrogen gas and Parkinson's disease. And then we have research that hydrogen gas benefits Parkinson's disease. So, researchers are trying to figure it out, that there could be this correlation or correlation between disease models and hydrogen and us not, producing H2 as we should be. And that's one of the enigma. People, some of the researchers had to figure this out. If we produce hydrogen gas, why does taking a little bit through water compared to the large amount that can produce in your gut has this amazing benefit, whereas the gut hydrogen levels doesn't seem to have as much benefit as hydrogen water or hydrogen inhalation. So what is going on here? And one of the things is that the research has shown that we're only of like all the hydrogen gas we generate in our gut, only about 14% of it crosses through the blood and crosses through the intestinal barrier, intestinal mucosa, and goes into circulation. And most of it is kicked out through flatulence, right? Or consumed. Other bacteria will actually use hydrogen as an energy source. And so, so you make a basal level. You'll produce a certain amount that's in your blood that just kind of stays constant. And it'll stay at that level. But when you drink hydrogen water, you're actually going to cause this basal level. You're going to kick it higher and spike. So this basal level, your cells get used to. All your cells are exposed to this level. But that's something like 1 to 5 micromolars of hydrogen within your blood. And they get used to this level. But then when you drink hydrogen water, you will spike it to like 10, 20 micromolars, 30 micromolars, depending on the dose of hydrogen you take. And when you spike it, it causes this favorable response to the cells. The cells respond to hydrogen. Hydrogen induces all these effects to it. And then it'll come back down to its basal level after you get done drinking hydrogen-rich water. About an hour to 90 minutes after you consume hydrogen water. So it'll peak at about 30 minutes after you drink it. And then basically in an hour, it'll be gone. So with that in mind, yes, having a good, healthy diet, you're going to reap benefits from hydrogen, whether you know it or not. It's not just the food that you're actually drinking. The food you're actually eating. But also, just because you're on a healthy diet doesn't mean you can't still reap benefits from hydrogen, because you're going to actually increase those levels beyond what you can do with your gut.
Great. So now, one of the most questions I get asked, I have a large parent support group. I also have a HBOT support group. I've documented in the past some of my experiences with the water and what it's done for me and my daughter. And this is actually the part I've struggled with also, is people see all the benefits, they go online and they see their studies, and then they say, okay, so where do I buy it or how do I start? You can't go to Walmart or Myers or just get it usually. So most people want to go on Amazon, and I do warn people with just buying pre-made water on Amazon or just not from the direct manufacturer. I do always recommend anything you put in your body should come from a direct manufacturer. So what is now you're really good at this because I know you third-party test results and you have a whole section of your website where you help people with this. How do people start to get started with a product and shopping?
Right. So I think first thing I would say is I'm gonna teach a little bit about the hydrogen market first, and then we'll go ahead and transfer over to like how a person gets started and what they should be looking for and how they should actually handle this information that's over here. And then it'll show you why a company like mine is going to be such a great benefit for you. So first of all, it's important to know that this is a new novel therapy, and this market for hydrogen gas or hydrogen products is new and developing. And there are certain markets around the world that's developing faster than others. But if you want to take about the West, over here in the United States, it is the wild, wild West. It's hydrogen has a great potential. People are finding out that hydrogen has, all this great potential for us, as a therapeutic agent. And so there's a whole lot of products being made, but because the research is not readily available and easily translated to something that's easily understandable for the common people, you get a whole bunch of products that are being made that aren't necessarily going to be providing what's stated in the research. Considering the information about the industry and knowing that there's a gap between the products being made and the scientific research, we need to have some like a little bit of a strategy about how we're going to go about spending our money so that we can actually maximize the therapy to our bodies. And so with that in mind, now this is how I would tell people to approach this industry, to approach the marketplace with hydrogen. Do not just go out and buy anything. That's the first thing don't do that. Don't go to Amazon. Don't go to, Alibaba, whatever's out there, and just go spend your money. You do not want to do that. You're going to waste your money. And what I would tell you to do first is try to do your best to find companies or educators that are in this industry that confirm hydrogen products. So that would be the first thing I would do. I would say, okay, I need to know as much as I can, and I need to, and there's no way I'm going to learn all this information. So I'm going to try to find an expert, some people that are doing something to help us know what products are good or bad. And my company's not the only one. There's actually a company called IHSA, the International Hydrogen Standards Association. They actually set standards for hydrogen products based on the studies, so that you can know what is the minimum amount of H2 you need in your water or anything like that to receive benefits. They set standards for it. And then there's also another company called H2 Analytics. H2 Analytics is a hydrogen laboratory that tests hydrogen products and confirm hydrogen products as well. And then you have my company, H2 Hub. H2 Hub also third-party tests hydrogen products. And the difference between H2 Hub and those other entities is that H2 Hub is far more accessible, and we're going to do, and there's certain things that we do that they don't do. So hydrogen, so for instance, IHSA, they just set standards. They're going to tell you what a minimum amount is, but they won't tell you which product makes that amount, right? They're going to give you that amount. They just give you the information you need to know of this is what, at the very least, my product needs, the product needs to do this. H2 Analytics also tests products, but they're a hydrogen laboratory, right? So they're not going to be as accessible with the data, giving that data out to you, because these companies go and then they'll get a laboratory report, and then it's upon the company to show you the laboratory report. So I would say that you should check with companies and make sure that they maybe have an H2 Analytic test report on their products. You can feel pretty confident with a hydrogen and an independent hydrogen laboratory that uses the type of instruments they use to test hydrogen gas, which is like the gold standard, use gas chromatography to actually test products. You can feel really confident if they have a H2 Analytics test report, but they're still limited. H2 Hub, we receive a ton of products. I don't know if you see this. We receive a ton of products, but what we do is we take it a step further. We tell you not only what we tested, but we actually have a page on our website that shows you information about the product, the brand or the company, the manufacturer that sells it. And then also we actually do videos. So we actually do test videos. This is something that's different than those other two. We actually do test videos where I get on camera and I show you how to test a product and what I test the product at. And there's no like magical tricks. We try to show the whole thing so you can see it from start to finish, so you can have a greater level of confidence that what the product you're actually purchasing is going to be giving you therapeutic levels of hydrogen. And we've been doing this in the industry for, like I said, for a long time now. We've tested more than 80 products on the market. And of that 80 products we've tested, we on our recommendation list right now, we probably have about 30, a little bit more than 30 products. So that should go to show you that just because you test 8, there's a lot that didn't pass our testing. Meaning you can go spend your money on a lot of different products and maybe not receive this therapeutic. And ultimately, that's what you need to know, is that there is actually a therapeutic level of hydrogen that you need to receive. There's a dose you need to have, or else you run the risk of not actually experiencing the benefits of hydrogen. And not only does that hurt you, but it also hurts hydrogen in general, because you're gonna go out and you're gonna tell people hydrogen doesn't work. But it might be that, but it might not be that it didn't work. It might have been that because you actually never took the right amount. And because you never took the right amount for the actual duration of time you should be taking, then that's maybe why you didn't experience the benefits of hydrogen. So that's kind of the logic of what I would say. The industry's here. You need to understand that industry, the marketplace, the research here. With that information, you need to think wisely about how you spend your money. Confirm products first before you go spend it. Do a little research. Find the people that are doing that work for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. And then after that, leverage that resource to maximize your money and to maximize the therapy to your body.
Definitely, because this it does, as you stated, I started off with pre-made water, and I don't think I had paid any attention to numbers or testing it. And it can get expensive over time, even if you're buying a brand that's not reliable. So you definitely just don't want to waste your money when you could have a better product. I think another pro is you can look at inhalation machines where you don't have to buy tablets every month. You just buy a set unit. So in the future, it seems like that's, if you want this long term, you should definitely consider if you want pre-made water or tablets versus a machine that you would get more use out of. In the long run, is having an inhalation machine a lot saves you money rather than buying tablets every month.
Yeah, so I would say it like this, because there's a few things I could point out regarding what you were talking about. So number one, with prepackaged hydrogen-rich waters, that's a whole rabbit hole within themselves. So typically, one thing you need to know about molecular hydrogen, like I said, it's the smallest molecule in existence, and it's really hard for us to fathom really how small hydrogen is. And so I typically do some kind of example. I typically say, if you take a strand of hair and you pluck a strand of hair and you hold it up to the light and you look at the width of that strand of hair, you can fit 3 million hydrogen molecules across the width of a single strand of hair. So that gives you a point of reference of just how small this molecule is. It is unfathomably small. And because of that, and because it's neutral in its charge, it penetrates. It just diffuses through everything. So hydrogen really can't be contained very well. But with these prepackaged hydrogen-rich waters, they typically have specialized pouches that can hold hydrogen for an extended period of time, maybe like a shelf life of a year or two. It can hold the hydrogen gas in there. But unfortunately, a lot of these prepackaged hydrogen waters that are on the market will come with like plastic tips on the top. But hydrogen penetrates through plastic. So this is really important because we actually have tested prepackaged hydrogen-rich waters. And there was one that the manufacturer likely packaged the prepackaged hydrogen-rich water at like 2 ppm, so a really high concentration of hydrogen within water. But when I received it, we measured it at 0.1 ppm. So they lost 99% of the gas through the plastic tip. And so people are out there buying these cases thinking they're drinking hydrogen water, but they're drinking very low levels, or if none at all, undetectable. So it's really important to know that if you're going to drink a prepackaged hydrogen-rich water, for instance, I have some down here. Some of these you'll see now are in cans. These cans are better because they actually have, they're not compromised. The packaging is not compromised by any kind of plastic or something like that. But they do have, it's better for storing hydrogen. You know you're going to get an effective dose from it. Now, onto your second point about long-term versus short-term. Yeah, I think there are advantages to different products. And so, for instance, like tablets, their hydrogen-rich tablets, their advantages will be they're going to have a low upfront cost, and you're going to be able to get a really good dose of hydrogen within your water. So if you really want to try something, that'll be an easy place to go. They're going to be like $50-$60 or something along those lines. And you're going to be able to get like a month's supply of tablets and you can try it out. But long-term going, there's advantages to hydrogen inhalation systems that are just different. So for instance, you can never breathe hydrogen gas with hydrogen tablets. It's just fundamentally different. But with the hydrogen inhalation system, there are several devices that are on market that allow you to not only breathe the gas, but actually bubble the gas into water. You can infuse hydrogen gas into water, or even dual systems that'll come with a hydrogen water pitcher and a hydrogen inhalation system. So it'll actually produce the gas for you to breathe, and it'll funnel the gas to the pitcher and then take it through a dissolving process to infuse the gas into the pitcher for you to drink. And so there's advantages to hydrogen inhalation systems, whereas on a long term, man, you can go ahead and not only breathe the gas, but have a unit that might last you, for the next, 8, 9 years of actually being able to breathe hydrogen gas, but also making hydrogen gas, hydrogen rich water at home with your breathing machine via bubbling it into water. Now, with that being said, too, you're only going to be able to bubble it to a certain concentration. So there's going to be a level of hydrogen gas you're going to be able to get to that's dissolved into the water that's going to be therapeutic, but it won't be as therapeutic, let's say, as maybe the type of concentrations that maybe hydrogen tablets can do, or some hydrogen bottles. Certain specific hydrogen bottles can produce a really, really high concentration of hydrogen within water. So you're going to get a bigger dose via that. So I typically tell people, if you can, do both and find the best way forward for your budget. So that might be, if you had to pick and choose, I would say long term, you need to do a hydrogen inhalation system, but that doesn't mean you don't need to drink the water. So if this system can't bubble, if it's not designed for infusing hydrogen in water, bubbling hydrogen water, then you should get a portable hydrogen water bottle. You should get one that makes high concentration hydrogen rich water, and you should drink that and breathe. If you want, let's say, high concentration hydrogen rich water, and that machine doesn't actually do that. So those are type of things that you would get with consulting with us. Like we'll basically look at your budget. We'll look at what you're trying to accomplish with hydrogen therapy, and we'll direct you to which products will probably be best for you, considering what you got going on and what your budget is and what you're actually looking to accomplish. Some people just want to try it out. Some people want the long term now. I want to go ahead and invest now. Some people got a clinic, so they're like, which one can I actually have 2 people breathe from this unit at the same time? Because I want to maximize it. So I want like 4 of these systems, but I want to be able to have 8 people breathing hydrogen gas all at the same time. Okay, well then you need a system that's going to supply. You need a dual user system, but which unit is a dual user system? Which one's going to supply enough hydrogen gas to be therapeutic to 2 people breathing at the same time? And so those are type of things of utilizing our service. That can be a benefit not only to you, but whoever else wants to contact us.
Definitely. I think 2 of the biggest resources that the members in my groups are going to take away from this, and I'm going to make sure that we go ahead and link them in the comments so members can just easily find it, is you offer right on your website a quiz where you can enter in your health condition, how many people you want a unit for, and you can book a consultation with you for $20, which is very affordable for most consultations. And then you will help answer questions, because I know many of these members are going to have questions, so they can contact you to do that. And you will also help them with products to buy. Now,
Right.
if you don't want to do a consultation, you just want to get into buying, you also offer, which I've been looking for years, no lie. It's the only reason why I haven't got started by myself, so I know other people are in the shoes. But you offer a product list where you go over budget-friendly devices, water, inhalation machines by subject, and you will let people know from lowest cost to most expensive what you can shop for, and then you show these are my approved products that you have tested, and then you also even offer like discounts through your website. So I'm going to go ahead and link that, and you can go ahead and look at tablets versus the price of the inhalation machine, which I'll be doing is just comparing them.
One of the questions we get often on our website is when you go to our approval product page of all the products that have passed our HUF evaluation, and our number one, the 3 things we're looking at is if the product's safe, if it provides therapeutic levels, hydrogen gas based on the scientific studies, And if it has good build quality, if it has good engineering build quality, right? Like it's not just put together with bubble gum. And sometimes you can't know that unless you open a unit up. And so this is what we do. We actually talk to these manufacturers and everything and have them fill out an agreement so that we can actually open the system up. I can look at the engineering and just have my team look at it. So, but with that being said, like these are the things that like we're looking at. But when you go to our approved products, recommendation page of our approved products, you'll see each product has like a performance level. And you're like, what does this performance level mean? And so underneath the products tab on our website, you'll see that there is a standards page. So you can actually look at the actual performance standards we're testing for these products. They have to hit these marks. If they don't hit these marks, you will not see them on our page. And you can also use that to look at other products in the market if you did want to go to our page. Now, I wouldn't recommend it, but like at least you know that if you're going to look at somebody trying to, sell you on a water ionizer, you can go to our product standards page and look at what we have for water ionizers for standards and say, does your water ionizer hit these things? And if they can't say yes, they probably will lie. I don't say lie. Some might lie and say yes, but at least you will have the information, right? And then under that, there'll be our performance levels, right? And it's going to tell you for hydrogen-rich water products what our performance levels mean, and for hydrogen inhalation, what our performance levels mean, and our rankings for these products. And in essence, to make it simple for you, the more hydrogen gas that can be provided to your body by the product, the higher the performance level they will get. So, it'll be a level 4 or a level 3. A level 4 is going to give, that means that product gives you a lot of hydrogen. This is really important based on the scientific literature right now, because what we're seeing is hydrogen appears to be dose dependent. This means that there's a minimum amount of hydrogen you need to ingest to induce a therapeutic effect. And if you have more than that, the higher the dose, the greater the effect. So if you have a hydrogen inhalation system that can provide, more gas, then it's going to give you a greater dose. It means you're going to have a greater effect. So its antioxidant effects can be greater. It's anti-inflammatory effects. It's anti-allergic effects. It's anti-cellular death effects. You're going to increase that dose. And so that's what our performance levels mean. So you can actually go down the list and see, wait, this hydrogen water product is better for my price point, but it has a lower level, performance level. Tywon says it has a lower performance level. So it's going to provide less hydrogen to my body than this product that's $50 more. So maybe it's worth me spending the $50 more to get more hydrogen so I can get a better effect on my body. That's something else we do to kind of help everyone else know how to gauge which products to pick and then things like that. So these are just things that are on our page to try to help be a service to everyone who wants to invest or engage in hydrogen therapy.
Yeah, and your website is also just a one-stop shop. You can click on any condition and you have all the studies on there. I know your contact information with the product guide is also on there. And there's also a contact you form for consultations.
Yep. Yeah. So, we also have our 18-minute videos on there. So we didn't get to talk a whole lot about it, but what we do is we actually have a YouTube channel called 18 Minutes, which is a free educational video series on hydrogen therapy. I know you mentioned a little bit about it earlier, and we have more than 100 videos uploaded on hydrogen therapy, and so covering everything. And so we want to keep that free. And so we've asked people to donate. They can become a patron of our YouTube channel. So you can support us on a monthly basis as low as like $5 a month. And like as high as $1,000 a month. Some companies are doing that because they see the value in what we're doing to educate the industry, because basically everything on 18 Minutes is backed by the scientific research. So you don't necessarily receive all my opinions. You receive the scientific research on it. We take it, translate it into something digestible while keeping it accurate. And then we produce a video on it. And so like we actually have those videos on HU Hub as well underneath the video tab. So if you want to go on there, you can watch 18-minute videos, you can do so. you know. And then we also have H2 Hub videos where, like I said, we produce demonstration videos, test videos, unboxing videos to kind of show you what the product looks like before you actually buy it. So we're trying to do all these trying to cover all these bases for you on the educational side and on the product side, so you don't have to do all this work of trying to figure it out, because there's only really one way of figuring it out. You either got to trust somebody who's independent and really third-party testing products, or you got to buy products yourself and then try to figure out all the information to verify it. And then you can find out, like I did a long time ago. You start verifying and figure out you spent $5,000 you can't get back.
Definitely. And I do highly recommend everybody follow your H2 Minute Facebook page and your YouTube page, just because you're always putting out new studies and you're going over a range of conditions with easy to understand information. So you can also learn more about this. And I think they're all really great resources. Are going to be valuable to everybody, especially with the studies that continue to come out with this. I'm excited to see more of what comes.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, there's so many. We just did a research update video the other day about male fertility, and I just put out a little research update on it because we did a video, an actual video, HTML video for hydrogen for reproductive health, where we cover all the studies for how hydrogen can benefit our reproductive systems, and it's pretty a lot. It's pretty remarkable, but this study came out after the video, so I did a research update video on it showing how hydrogen actually was able to, within 8 weeks, with men who had low sperm count, was able to increase the sperm count and the life of the sperm and help them live longer. And was in some of the subjects, it increased it by more than 20 million per microliter. So it's helping men, what's called spermatogenesis, basically the process of producing more sperm. There's producing sperm. These men who have struggled in that area, for whatever reason, hydrogen water was able to effectively increase that for them. So just stuff like that. We're always putting out more information around hydrogen. And it, like I said, it's really doesn't matter. I mean, it's been shown hydrogen been therapeutic for virtually every organ in the human body. So there's a whole lot. We're going to be teaching about hydrogen for the next decade still, and we wouldn't cover it all.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you taking the time to teach myself and my members all about this subject. You've been
Yep.
a great resource also, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you having me on today, and talking about hydrogen. It's an honor to be able to teach about it and try to help people with it. And so if we can ever do it again, I'll be happy to do it again for you.
Yeah, and also if the members here do have more questions and you guys want us to touch back on this, I know we'll be open to do another like live and question and answer, so members can come in and ask you questions, which I think they'll find really valuable about researching this therapy, because it is very promising. There's, again, very little side effects. It's affordable. In my opinion, everybody who's doing HBOT or anybody who just wants general health should be looking into this.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Tywon. I appreciate the interview today.
Well, thank you, Christy. It was wonderful.
Thanks. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.